Hello out there, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of your number one talk show, City Talks, with Reuben Abati, on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. On this show, we talk about stories of political and human interest that affect us all as citizens of Nigeria and that also affect our lives, our daily lives, and our society, and our politics, and our culture. And today I have a double dosage for you, as I have two guests today, very important guests. Our first distinguished guest is Dr. Festus Okoye, who is the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Our second guest is Don Pedro Obaseki. Don Pedro Obaseki was the Director of Communications and Strategy of the Godwin Obaseki 2020 campaign in Edo State. And if you like, you may say Don Pedro Obaseki was also in that election the chairman of the governor's kitchen cabinet. The two of them are here today to attempt a review of the Edo gubernatorial election of September 19, 2020, and to look forward. Now, Dr. Festus Okoye is an indigene of Imo State. He was appointed as the 12th INEC commissioner. He used to be executive director of Human Rights Monitor. He's a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. He was called to the Nigerian bar in 1985. He's a pro-democracy and human rights activist, very well known for the work that he has done in the areas of constitutional and electoral law. Now, Don Pedro Obaseki, Saro Agbonifo Pedro Obaseki, popularly known as Don P, is a playwright, a poet, a screenwriter, a film director, an international television content provider, a lecturer, and one of the pioneers of Nigeria's Nollywood film industry. He obtained his first degree from the University of Benin, Bachelor of Arts degree in Theatre and Theatre Arts Management, a master's degree in business administration, and 2 doctorate degrees, one in performance theory and praxis, which is a very special area in theater arts, led intellectually by Richard Shechner, who is a leading professor in the area of performance theory. And then he has another PhD, a DBA in business administration. Don Pedro Obaseki is the founder CEO of ACC Broadcast Media Limited, and is a 2-time recipient of the Oba Ereduawa Award for Excellence in 2011 and 2013, and he was awarded Nollywood Distinguished Veteran in 2013. He was also awarded an honorary award for service to Nigerian broadcasting at the National Innovation Awards 2015. He owns a radio station of his own. He's trying to establish another one here in Lagos State. Well, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700 1051 1051. And you can also leave comments on WhatsApp 0909 916 4403 and on social media at City 1051 on Twitter and Instagram Live. And you can also join us on Zoom. We'll be right back with this conversation with Dr. Festus Okoye and Dr. Pedro Obaseki. Dr. Festus Okoye, thank you for joining us. Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, thank you also for joining us this Saturday on City Talks with Reuben Abati on City 105.1 FM.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Together, we're going to review the gubernatorial elections in Edo State on September 19. Well, Dr. Okoye, are you with me? I would like to start with you.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Dr. Festus Okoye, thank you for joining us. Quickly,
thank you.
Everyone has praised INEC for what it achieved in Edo State on September 19, exactly 1 week ago. We have been told that INEC did very well. But are there lessons that INEC has learned from Edo State? And you have before you now another gubernatorial election, another off-cycle election in Ondo State on October 10. What are the lessons that you have learned from Edo? What will INEC do differently in Ondo State on October 10?
Well, I left Akure this morning at 9 a.m. together with the chairman of the commission and other national commissioners and directors and other staff of the commission. We see every election as a weekly football tournament. The moment you finish one tournament, win or lose, you prepare for the next one, and that's exactly what we are doing at the moment. Yes, we have received a commendation relating to the conduct of the election in Edo State. But as a commission, we believe that we've been given the mandate by the Nigerian people to organize, undertake, and supervise election, and that is exactly what we have done. Now, arising from the Edo governorship election, we have taken on board and harvested a few positives and a few negatives arising from that particular election. On the positive side, we intend to improve on some of the positives, and on the negative side, we intend to plug all the loopholes and look at the lacuna that we experienced during that particular election. But one of the lessons we learned from the Edo governorship election is that when you plan and plan well, that there's a possibility that the outcome will be very, very positive. And that's exactly what happened. A month before the conduct of the Edo governorship election, we had delivered all the non-sensitive materials to all the local government areas of Edo State. And all these materials were batched to the registration areas. And a week to the election, we delivered all the sensitive materials for the election. And we adopted what I call a policy of inclusiveness and consultation with the political parties. Before we even went to the central bank to go and look at the materials and audit them, we had a meeting with all the political parties where we agreed on the modalities for inspection and some other things involved in the movement of materials. So consultation was also very, very key in some of the things we achieved. And then we also carried out very rigorous training of our ad hoc staff. And also we also made them to know that it is important for them to act professionally and also to act ethically. And then we also synergized with the security agencies in relation to professionalism, ethical conduct, and also good deployment in relation to the elections, both at the inner queues, inner cordon of the polling units, and also at the outer cordon. But we learned a few lessons in relation to one, payment of ad hoc staff. We had challenges in two electoral wars relating to the payment of the training allowance of ad hoc staff. And we didn't find that funny at all because it delayed deployment in a few of the polling units. There was also challenges with escorting some of our materials to the polling units in terms of the fact that a few of the security personnel arrived late to the registration area centers from where we deployed at the first night. We have discussed this with the security agencies in order to make sure that it doesn't arise. And then there was also some level of miscommunication, if you permit me to use that expression, between some of the presiding officers and their supervisors. When we had challenges of smart card reader malfunction in a few polling units, rather than call their supervisors and rather than call our registration area technical assistants, they were busy calling their NYC supervisors. So some of these things we have harvested them, and we have just finished a 3-day readiness assessment in Ondo State, and we are going to make sure that some of those things do not happen as we move to Ondo State.
Dr. Okoye, one of the issues that election observers brought up with regard to the Edo election is that yes, whereas persons were compelled to use face masks, there was no physical distancing, and this was an off-cycle election taking place in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. Are we going to see focus on ensuring physical distancing in the Ondo election, or it is something beyond INEC?
Yes, no. We've taken that on board. Before this particular election, before the Edo governorship election, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 assigned one of their senior officers, Dr. Asad Hassan, to work with the commission. And we have told almost all the so many of the local governments in Ondo State with him, and we also told the local governments in Edo State with him. We've taken all these things on board. One of the things we have decided to do in relation to the Ondo governorship election is to mark out and demarcate the distances a day before the election. Because what happened in Edo State was that because of the enthusiasm, because people were really engaged in the electoral process, some of them went to the polling units as early as 6 o'clock in the morning, even before the arrival of our ad hoc staff. And when our ad hoc staff arrived, they simply surged on them. So demarcating the inner cordon and the outer cordon of the polling units became slightly difficult. And so we have learned the lessons from Edo, and we are recalibrating the polling unit vicinity on election day in relation to the Ondo governorship election. And so it's not something beyond us. And we have also discussed it with the security agencies so that they can also help and maintain some level of orderliness at the polling units. But more importantly, our people must imbibe the culture of orderliness, because we cannot afford a situation where we are going to organize an election and then people will come down with health challenges. I don't think that is the main purpose of this election. The main purpose of this election is for us to remain healthy and also at the same time fulfill the constitutional obligation of electing those who will govern us.
Dr. Okoye, one more question for you before I go to Dr. Obaseki. Now, the use of the Z-Pad was an issue in the Edo election. Ahead of the election, INEC told the public that the Z-Pad will not be used because it didn't work quite well in the election, the by-election you had in Nasarawa State in 44 polling stations. Now, the PDP yesterday made an issue out of this and said you have to be sure that you are not going to deploy the Z-Pad for the purposes of accreditation in Ondo State. What is your response to this? Will you use the Z-Pad in Ondo State, or you will retain the position you took with regard to the Edo election?
Well, my response is simply this. This particular commission is irrevocably committed to the deepening of the use of technology in the electoral process. And this particular commission will continue to control the deployment, the timing of technology in the electoral process. We are not going to allow technology to control us. Rather, we are going to be the controller. We are going to control technology, make a determination on when we deploy technology in our electoral process. Now, in relation to the Z-Pad, we did a test run of the Z-Pad in the Nasarawa Central State Constituency election. And we used it for two purposes. One, as a secondary authentication solution to the smart card reader. And secondly, to upload from EC8A, which is the polling unit resource, into the INEC result viewing portal that we created. After that particular election, we felt that what we wanted to achieve with the Z-Pad in terms of being a secondary authentication solution was not really achieved. And we felt that we needed to go back to the drawing board, take a second look at the Z-Pad, and then make sure that it's robust enough for us to deploy it to a big election. And that was exactly what we did. So we agreed as a commission that the Z-Pad will only be deployed for the purposes of uploading polling unit results in Edo State and in Ondo State. And that's exactly what we have done. Now, some of the people that are now warning the commission about deploying Z-Pad for secondary authentication, what you need to do is to go back and see what they said when we said we are not going to use the Z-Pad as a secondary authentication solution in Edo State. Go and see what they said. And now look at what they are saying now. The truth of the matter is that this present commission is determined to do what is right. Political parties can go and play their politics, but we have been given the mandate to organize, undertake, and supervise elections, and that's what we are going to do. No political party will dictate to us how we are going to conduct elections, because the conduct of election is the exclusive responsibility of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The political parties have been given their own role in the Constitution and in the law, and I think that they should remain on their own lane, and then we remain on our own lane. If we do right, let them say we have done right. If we don't conduct a good election, it is their constitutional responsibility to say so. But we are not going to be distracted by political parties trying to dictate and control the type of solutions we deploy in election. It is our exclusive responsibility and our exclusive preserve to make a determination on that, and we are going to continue to do that.
Well, Dr. Okoye, don't go away. Stay with us. We have people on Twitter, on WhatsApp, on Zoom, all participating in this conversation. I would like to bring Dr. Obaseki in at this point. First, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki. Well, I've just been talking to Dr. Okoye of INEC, and you listen to him. Your cousin, your brother, whom you served as the strategy man in the gubernatorial election in Edo State, emerged triumphant. Do you have any comments about the performance of INEC in that election? Are there words of advice that you have for INEC, having listened to Dr. Festus Okoye of INEC?
Very simply, I want to say that we will be economical with the truth if we see the INEC that performed in Benin in the same, within the same pinhole camera that we used to look at the previous elections. I think empirically that INEC in Benin, in Edo State, scored a very pass mark. If I was to grade them based on the antecedents, this was the first time that INEC seemed to be independent and seemed to be a commission rather than an organization that was involved in serial omissions. So I think that in spite of the heated presentation of Festus Okoye, Dr. Okoye has always been heated. He's made so many promises in the past, and in 2019 I still remember his promises, and those promises actually made a lot of us sleepless. But with this one, anybody who wants to carry the cudgel to whip INEC would just be playing wrong roulette. I think in this election, INEC gave us a beacon of hope. Seriously. I was on the field. I was actually a coalition, a ward and local government agent for the election. So I saw how it all panned out. We were scared over the last minute withdrawal of the Z-pad, and there's another one called the Z file, for the authentication, secondary authentication. But as a lawyer, we weren't. It wasn't lost on us that INEC was just trying to make things a little more convenient, because the Form EC8A remains the main thing. So if they are going to do exactly what they did in Edo, in Ondo, I think democracy stands a chance. And but the major problem is what I saw. There was a major problem was just the fact that logistically INEC still has to wake up. They still have to wake up to play. They still have to catch up. They are still playing catch up. But the election was good.
Okay.
Not because we were victorious. It is the other side who lost. Actually, don't seem to be complaining about the performance of INEC. So, which means INEC, scored a pass mark.
Okay. So, in other words, the reward for hard work is more hard work.
More hard work
on the part of
INEC.
But I would like to ask you, Dr. Obaseki.
Yes.
The odds were against your brother.
Yes.
All the powerful forces in Edo State stood up against him. Even the national leader of the party, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, joined that fray. There were forces that came from everywhere.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, he managed to succeed. So was this a triumph of strategy, or the triumph of the incumbency factor, or just sheer luck? How did you guys do it?
I would say a combination of the first and the last. The incumbency factor may be based on his performance, not incumbency based on some holds on power. He had actually little or no control over some of those things that rig elections. That, to be very frank, he had a strategic vision of the entire process, end to end. But what was most important, which many people don't consider, is that they took away, they were oblivious of the historical antecedents of Edo peoples in elections. They did not understand, like they grossly misread the behavioral thermometer of the average Edo man. Stubborn, single-minded, believing that all is them and they are more than all else. They misread that. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu's last-minute intervention was actually the final nail on the coffin of those who were opposed to the governor. So what we saw was a serial gang-up, and the entire people of Edo State believed that they were much more important than a committee of men who, behind the sanctuary of locked doors, were willing to fleece away the will of the people. So we came, in fact, let me be a graphic example. People were walking into the field and walking straight to the policemen, telling policemen as they are walking into the field, if we not interfere today, we die here. And that is a mindset that even the policemen could not understand. To make matters worse, a few days before, thank God the Festus is from Imo State, but Edo is not Imo, neither is Edo not be Lagos. We saw
now Ondo people are saying Ondo not be Rivers.
But you see, for Ondo, historically, we are persons who seem not to remember our history. Edo and Ondo have always shared some level of political commonality, right from 1954. In fact, the very most recent one is the coming of Mimiko and Adams Oshomole. The election in 2007 that saw Mimiko being removed and Agagu being put there, and Oshomole being declared loser to Osumbo, was actually the fight against godfathers. And both of them, on the same day, the Edo people voted against the national pattern, just the way the Ondo people voted against the national pattern on exactly the same day. The only difference is because of the litigation processes. The same issues that led to the coming of Mimiko led to the coming of Adams Oshomole. So I believe that I don't want to be Nostradamus, but I think that taking into consideration the commonality, even the ethnic relationship between the average Ondo man and the average Edo man, and our political history, whether it's Ajasin or Ambrosali, who had exactly the same program, in spite of the fact that they were all UPN, you might want to risk and say, maybe Edo not be Lagos. No, maybe Ondo not be Lagos. Or maybe Ondo just feel be like Edo. And that is the truth. I believe that I drove through just 2 days ago, coming to Lagos. The vibe is different, and you can feel the positive. And I think if Edo could do it, Ondo can do it.
Okay, Dr. Obaseki, one major point of analysis after the election on September 19 in your state is that Obaseki's victory will mark the end, or already marks the end of godfatherism in Edo politics. How certain can anybody be about that?
The certainty is the fact that Godwin is governor. Somebody has to understand that Godwin is a product of life is about most of life is about heredity and environment. Godwin as a person will not be able to jettison all that he fought for, because it is not in his DNA. Even the family which he comes from may have rebels within if he decides to walk away from what he has taught his own people. For us, we call him a maton, an iron general. So, and he must lead and ensure that which he had preached must be practiced. That was the nadir of Adams Oshomole. Adams preached the same philosophy. No man is God. One man, one vote. And on that mantra, he rose to popular acceptance by the Edo peoples. So immediately they saw him step out of that corridor which he had created. They all came against him like a ton of bricks. It may be also notable that you never found an Edo man of verve, of favor, an Edo man of renown coming to stick their neck or his or her neck for Adams Oshiomhole. So all the narratives we had on social media or in traditional media were from persons who were hired by the, I don't want to say APC, to prosecute the media campaign for them. No Edo man rose up against Godwin. No Edo man that has meaning, thought, and I understand that because Adams left Edo State at a very tender age, before he was 10, and he never came back until he was governor, and he was almost 60. So he might not have understood really the constitution of the average Edo man, whether from Esan, Isako, Bini, Ora, or Akoko Edo. And that is where he misread or misjudged our political behavior.
Well, Dr. Obaseki, before we throw the conversation over, one major criticism against your brother and cousin is that he didn't manage relationships well. Now, after the election, he has extended what is called the olive branch to his supporters, to his opponents. He has also gone ahead to visit the president of Nigeria to thank the president for the leadership that he provided in that election. But what is the conversation that you guys are having with Governor Obaseki? Is he going to manage relationships better? Because it will be shocking for us tomorrow to now hear that, the people that supported him to get a second term in office, he's now quarreling with them. And then you will have those who opposed him coming around and saying, we told you, didn't we tell you? So what is the guarantee that he will manage the relationship better, not just with political stakeholders, but also with the people of Edo State?
No, there is no act here to tell the mind's design on the face.
Okay. Shakespeare? Macbeth.
Macbeth. Okay, sorry, sir. I can't just... but one thing I know, Godwin is a well-schooled person, a man of reason. The unfortunate thing was, in his political journey, the learning curve was quite steep. And I think he has become a better political leader, leading towards the end of his tenure, his first tenure in office. And I can see that the rapprochement has begun, and I think he's going to see that through because he's a quiet man. And most persons, because of the quietitude, they mistake Godwin's quietitude for docility. Maybe that was what made the man come out and say, no, we can. So the factors that led to that no longer exist. So, and I think now he is not just the a PDP or APC member or PDP candidate. He is the governor of everybody in Edo State, PDP, DCC, CPC, APC, and everybody. And as an Edo man, I know that he will up the game. And I believe that those of them who came out for Godwin, he cannot reward each and every one of them personally and individually. But the only way he can do that is to make sure he's making Edo great again mantra. Continues with fervor, carries everybody along, because at the end of the day, the people will remain the recurring decima in this engagement. So I believe, I see him talk, and when I look straight into his eyes, sometimes I am moved to tears. Sometimes I'm moved by what the Igbos call akpaturi, goose pimples, because you can hear the sincerity of purpose. You can see the
married
belief.
to an Igbo woman.
Yes.
I see she's been teaching you the language. Uchenna, don't mind me.
So I believe, in my last conversation with the governor a couple of days ago, he's already moving, and he's already moving. Already, all the interactions, talking to those who just fought him in this election, because the election is come and gone. but the Edo people will remain. The PDP may still come and may still go. The APC may still come and may still go. But the most important three letters in our political environment for us Edo people is EDO. So long as it is about the Edo-ness, I think Godwin Nogegase Obaseki will be able to carry everybody along. He's going to donkey now. That is the only alternative, so that he will leave that as a lasting legacy, not only in the infrastructure in place, but even the mental architecture, the mindset of the Edo people, which he has raised to most astronomical proportions right now.
Well, thank you, Dr. Obaseki. As I said earlier, we have people participating in this conversation on Zoom, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. We'll now throw the conversation open. If you are going to join us via phone call, the number to call is 0700-1051-1051. And if it's on WhatsApp, it's 09099164403. If it is via social media, Twitter, it is at City1051 on Twitter and at City1051 also on Instagram. I see quite a crowd on Zoom, and we want to thank all of you for being part of this conversation. But before we take the first call, Dr. Okoye, let me come back to you. In Ondo State, there was an issue about 5,000 card readers going up in flames. What is INEC doing about that, and what is the guarantee that there will be no problem with card readers in Ondo State on October 10? You recall that in Edo State, there were issues with card readers.
Well, I told you that I just came back from Akure this morning, and we have been in Akure for 3 days with the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, the national commissioners and directors. Yes, we lost a total of 5,141 smart card readers to an inferno. And that was also in Akure doing some sensitization workshops during that particular period. But we have fully recovered from that particular challenge because we had more than 5,000 smart card readers in our Oyo State office. So what we have done was to take 5,000 smart card readers from Oyo State and also took another 1,000 smart card readers from another state for purposes of training of our supervisory presiding officers and presiding officers. So as at yesterday, the smart card readers were being configured and they were being charged. And a week to the election, all the smart card readers required for the conduct of the Ondo governorship election will be ready. So we have fully recovered, and there won't be any challenge with the issue of the smart card readers. But talking about smart card reader malfunction, you see, what we have done is that, for instance, in Edo State, we have 192 registration areas or electoral wards. We have trained registration area technical assistants and deployed them to all these wards. So the moment there's smart card reader malfunction in any polling unit, the presiding officer gets in touch with the registration area technical assistant or with the supervisor or with INEC monitors, and within a period of 5 minutes, a help will arrive. If the smart card reader can be fixed, they will fix it. If it cannot be fixed, we have redundancies that can be deployed for the purposes of covering up for that particular polling unit. But we have taken all the challenges we experienced in Edo State on board, and we are going to make sure that we perform much better in Ondo State during the election.
It's quite reassuring. If you are still joining us, if you are just joining us, we have on City Talks with Reuben Abati on City 1051 FM, Dr. Festus Okoye, National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and also Dr. Pedro Obaseki, Chief Strategist to Governor Godwin Obaseki in the 2020 September 19 election in Edo State. And what we've been discussing, we've been reviewing the election in Edo State, and we're looking forward to the next election in Ondo State on October 10. We'll take calls now. The number to call is 07001051 1051. We have our first caller now. Please identify yourself and please go straight to the point. Hello? 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 Okay, no contact there. But Dr. Obaseki, let me come back to you. Now, what are the plans to resolve the crisis in the Edo State House of Assembly? Is Governor Obaseki going to fix that roof quickly so that the Edo State House of Assembly can start functioning? And what is the fate of the 14 plus 3 lawmakers who seem to be against Governor Obaseki?
I will be frank. First, the roof was not removed, as ironically alluded to by the Western. When I say Western, I mean the Southwest media. It was removed since March, April 2020, because that roof, it has to be cleared. I'm happy I have an opportunity to do that now. That roof was removed when Pastor Izeyamu in 2014 left the APC for the PDP and left with more than half the members of the House. So to stop them from sitting, Adams Oshomole removed that roof, and that roof was hastily put back in place at the twilight of his administration when Mr. Buhari was visiting in November.
President
Buhari in 2016. Now that roof has been leaking. So in the 2020 budget, it was budgeted for it to be fixed. So 3 months before that crisis began, the Edo State House of Assembly was not sitting in that building. I still wonder why people have never considered the logistics of being able to put 25 trips of gravel just in the space of 1 hour 30 minutes in that morning. They were working. So they've been sitting at the Osadebe Hall, at the festival hall, for the last 3 months. That is the truth. Be that as it may, on the level of the 14 plus 3 plus, I think first, we cannot look for a political solution to a constitutional problem. I have not spoken with the governor on this, but the constitution is clear. From Article Section 95 to Section 105 of the Constitution on how the House of Assembly will play. And it states clearly there is a Supreme Court judgment that has not been vacated. And I thank God my uncle was one of those who wrote that judgment in 1983. And it happened also in Bende State when Benson Alegbe, as the Speaker, had declared the seat of a member vacant. And the Constitution states clearly that if you do not attend or got sworn in for 181 days, there is no need to even declare the seat vacant. It is automatically vacant. So for you to find a political situation, a solution, you might be inadvertently having a constitutional crisis. So the only way is for everybody. I've heard some of the PDP members say that those who contested that same election prior to it should be allowed to go and sit there. That also cannot work. The constitution is clear. Those who won the seats have lost it, and those who ran against them cannot claim it. INEC must run a by-election for those empty seats. In spite of the political situation that led to it, this is a res judicata.
Okay. Anyway, I'm anxious to get people on Zoom, on radio, and elsewhere
they may not like
to
it,
join
but
us.
that is
Yes, but I would like Dr. Okoye, if you don't mind, to just respond quickly to this. Are those seats, those 14 seats, automatically vacant, given what the law says about the number of times that a lawmaker should sit?
Well, I will not like to get into. Yes, I'm a lawyer and I'm a senior lawyer for that matter. But I will not like to get into issues that are both constitutional and political. The only thing I want to say on behalf of the Commission is that we are a law-abiding institution, and we got a letter from from the Speaker of the Edo House of Assembly, but there are so many matters pending in court relating to whether those seats are vacant and whether the house was properly inaugurated or not properly inaugurated. And until some of those matters are disposed of, the Commission cannot make any move in relation to either organizing a by-election to fill those seats or making any fundamental comment relating to the proprietary or otherwise of what has been done. So the matters are in court until the matters are disposed of. We are not going to take any step.
Okay, Dr. Okoye, Dr. Obaseki, let's open this up. I see people trying to call in. I see people raising their hands on Zoom. Producer, well, where do we start from? Let's take our first intervention. Your name, your location, and please be brief.
Yeah, this is Ebi from Songo. Hello?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to commend I want to thank God that I want to commend the INEC and the President and Commander-in-Chief, our President Buhari, for giving a free playing ground for everyone to really head their views. And I want to also commend the Edo people because they stood on their ground to say no, that Godfatherism is dead, and they stood on their ground. I think I want to commend them. So I want to call on INEC, the same way they handled the election in Edo State, they should still do the same in the Ondo, because everyone, Nigerians are happy with INEC. We're also happy with the president. And when this thing continues, discover that democracy will come to strive. I want to commend our Obaseki that he's a calm man. He stood on his ground, and look at what he has done today. We all are really supporting him. We know that God will going to give him the grace to pilot the affairs of these 4 years in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you.
Producer, can we have somebody from Zoom to say something? Hello? I see people raising their hands.
Hello, my name is...
Okay. Please go ahead.
My name is Olaye. Yes, I want to comment on what really played out in the Edo election. I'm calling from Asaba Delta State. In the polling units, there was a lot of vote buying. It was so glaring. Even I was there, I voted at Ward 7, at Unit 7. We had so many guys on the opposition side coming with bags of money, sharing it. We drew attention to police officers there. They all withdrew. If INEC could put measures on ground so that they can work hand in hand with police for those issues to be sorted out in the upcoming Ondo State election. Thank you.
Well, let's take more reactions. Please state your name, your location, and please keep it short and simple. Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, the program going on City FM, is that?
City FM 105.1 FM.
Okay, I just want to do state matter, is that?
Yes. Okay.
Please, I'm very happy, although I'm not from the state, but I'm very, very happy with the people of Edo State. The only advice I have for the good governor of that state at this moment is he should carry everybody along at this moment. The three arms of government in the state, they should work together. The war is over, no more war. So it is very good now for him to draw everybody closer to this government. He will surely get to his destination by God's grace.
Much indeed. Do we have another caller out there on the line? You're listening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Your name, your location.
This is Dr. David Obaseki from Portland, Oregon, United States.
Another Obaseki on the program? Are you also a grandson of the great Agbo Obaseki?
Yes.
He yourself Benin?
Yes, he's my first cousin.
Okay.
Davido.
Please go ahead, David.
My very question is for the INEC Commissioner, Dr. Barrister Festus Okoye. We observe keenly from people in diaspora here on the election day, things relating to security on the part of the INEC officials and security on the part of the sensitive materials that was being transmitted. We saw videos of certain representative of the INEC commission, either their rec during the election, being, taken against their own will by certain politicians. Now, the question is this. We discovered that, or we heard that over 30,000 policemen was sent to Edo State for the election. Now, the question is, why was this personnel not given security? First of all, for their security. Number two, for the security of the sensitive materials. We saw, from on live videos that was going on throughout the elections, that there were certain polling units that you find no policemen, or sometimes you find policemen, they have no weapons to protect anybody, not even themselves. So in moving forward, in attributing a lot of kudos to the INEC for what they have done, what is it INEC is going to do better to make sure that security for their personnel and for electionary materials is a priority? So this question goes to Barrister Festus Okoye. Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Okoye has had you there, but let's take one more reaction before we come back to Dr. Okoye and Dr. Obaseki. Another caller on the line out there. Yes. Please go ahead. Hello, please identify yourself and be brief, please.
Two things that intrigue me about that election. The first is the deputy governor, Philip Shaibu. Nobody seems to be talking about that gentleman, because that man behaved unlike the Nigerian men, most Nigerian men that we know. That man stood behind Godwin Obaseki under the rain, under the sun, under the show, anyhow, even when he was being induced with a whole lot of money. I think we need to also be mentioning that character, because he's unlike what we get in Nigeria here, especially among politicians. That's one. Two, it's good that Dr. Obaseki is there, and you did say he is the one that handles the strategy, for the campaign. I honestly think that one of the things that won this election for his cousin is what he did towards the end of the campaign, especially the media campaign. I'm talking from a media background also. The fact that he turned over what Adam Soshomole said about Obaseki in the days when they were friends. So it looks like Oshomole was now campaigning for Obaseki. Kudos to you, Dr. Pedro Obaseki. That was a fantastic strategy. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much. I'm now going to go back to our guests, but I can see Don Pedro Okoye out there. Thank you for joining us. Dr. David Obaseki joining us from the United States. Thank you. I saw Jude Magwe earlier on the Zoom screen. Thank you for joining us. I can also see Leo Fadaka and all of you who joined us via Zoom. But quickly, Dr. Okoye, I would like you to respond to the question raised earlier by Dr. David Obaseki from the U.S. about security for INEC personnel and security for sensitive materials.
In relation to the ad hoc staff we deploy for election, we made sure that we provided adequate security for them. Now, one of the things you need to understand is that as far as this commission is concerned, the issue of elections should be an ordinary civic responsibility. Without soldiers, without police, without navy, without civil defense hanging over the neck and feet of people. But because of our own peculiar situation, because of the trust deficit in our elections, adequate security have to be provided at every point in time. Let me tell you, the ballot papers that are used in this particular election contain the same security features as the Nigerian currency. The type of security that is given during the movement of currencies is the type of security we give in moving sensitive materials to the local governments and to the polling units. For all the materials that left the central bank, all the vehicles were tracked because we wanted to be sure that no vehicle we divert to a different place. Now, the way the polling units are configured and calibrated is such that at the inner polling cordon of the polling unit, you don't have to have armed security personnel. So we don't deploy and we don't encourage the deployment of armed security personnel to the inner cordon of the polling unit. It is at the outer cordon and also on the streets, patrolling the streets, that you have armed security personnel, so that if there's any challenge at the inner cordon of the polling unit, they can call for support and call for help as quickly as possible. But I agree that in terms of making sure that we have full complement of security personnel to all the polling units, our deployment strategies must be reassessed, so that you don't have 10 police personnel in one polling unit and you have none in another polling unit. And so we are also working with all the security agencies to make sure that we have full complement of security personnel protecting both our officials and our materials in all the polling units and the collation centers and at every aspect of the electoral cycle.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Okoye. Well, Dr. Obaseki, we'll be rounding up now in just about 2-3 minutes. We would like to have your concluding words and also your statement to the people of Edo State on behalf of your brother. And also, one issue I would have loved you to address, the issue of Edo Central. Governor Obaseki got support from Edo Central, from Edo South, and also he shared Edo North. The people of Edo Central are hoping that in the next 4 years, he will back them up so that they too can be governor. After Osumbo Professor Osumbo, my teacher, was removed by court.
Reuben, I'm not competent to answer the last one because the truth of the matter is the people will decide. But I believe that first, I just want to quickly, number one, the strategy of using Oshomole's words was not mine. It was actually the governor's. He actually had an archive of all the things from when they started campaign in 2006, trying to raise funds for Oshomole. So that opened a new vista, and all other persons started digging out materials and putting in the public domain. And so the strategy was not deliberately from the strategy committee. It was actually on a prompting by a video that the governor gave to us. So I'll give him credit for that. Secondly, on the issue of the security, I think I want to agree with Dr. Festus Okoye that election is a civic duty. Election not be war. And unfortunately, because we've allowed certain level of persons to be involved in the political space, good men, bad men have been ruling because the good ones never want to get involved. But that is changing now. So we must educate the people, like we did in Edo State, to make them understand that they are the protagonists in this story. So if the people are so determined, it becomes much more difficult for low-level miscreants to want to undo the process. Finally, for my great people of Edo State, Mr. Olaye said is a reset button. Our governor has said it almost all over and again. And I also believe that Nigerians cannot go back to doing elections the old way anymore. INEC couldn't have crossed or jumped this hurdle and begin to go back in a dynamo. They must go up and up and up and make it better. When Dr. Okoye said they will control technology, please, I want to beg you, sir, let technology lead, because technology is not emotional, it is not susceptible to the vagaries of political persuasions, and is not susceptible to godfathers and big men and presidents and anybody. Just let it go by the rule book. As a lawyer, I know you will agree with me, and you've done so well, sir. God bless you. Don't withdraw and make so that Edo go be the new yardstick, not Imo.
Well, you are looking for trouble there.
He's my brother. Why you know? You are my brother.
Obuzodima has been trying to push back. Anyway, thank you very much, Dr. Festus Okoye and Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, for taking time out to discuss Edo election and the way forward and the future of elections, the electoral process in Nigeria with us on City Talks with Reuben Abati. Our hope is that Nigeria becomes united. Of course, the theme for Nigeria at 60 is Together We Shall Be. And we'll start the celebration of Nigeria at 60 within a week. Thanks to also our callers and those who reach out to us on Twitter, on Zoom, Facebook, and Instagram. Remember, the conversation does not end here. You can also reach out to me on my social media account at Abati1990, both on Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to tune in next week at 12 noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is Reuben Abati. The show was produced by Oluwaseun Adetitun and Olanrewaju Elbama Unipede Jr. with our MD on standby, Doja Allen, Managing Director, City Talks 1051 FM. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again. We'll be with you again next Saturday. Thank you for listening.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.